get that, but
Oh, I don't get it.
okay. Whatever.
All right.
Let's just roll. I guess.
Let's just roll with it. We'll figure it out. All right.
I'm so sorry.
Let's just get the swing of things. It'll be great.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 100, poorly edited podcast, coming at you live. Just kidding. This is pre-recorded. We're in Josh's attic, and this is most of the team, except Sam Keenan, who's
may or may not be at home.
Way on business in Madrid, Spain.
That's a lie. Chandler Davis just lied to you.
Guys, let's crack one open for the boys, all right, and the girls.
And the boys.
And the boys,
You guys
especially
are the boys.
of Lab 212, who helped all make this possible. All right? Let's take a sip check. All right? Nice Baja Blast. Amresse?
No.
Let's take a sip check.
I'm embarrassed to show my large.
Oh my god, dude. Sip that check. All right. Amresse, where's your sip? Hey, look, guys, all I'm trying to say is, moral of the story is, it's been a long, arduous, horrific, some may even say, road to episode 100.
100.
And I could not have, none of us would be here if it weren't for each other, because there were times where we wanted to quit, but we didn't. Because
we should have.
Because everyone else would have been sad, so we didn't.
People tried to stop us.
People tried to stop us. They tried to say
friends,
no.
family,
they tried to take us aside
police,
and say, listen,
the government.
It's not going to work. You need to stop everything you're doing. It's not a good idea anymore. You're hurting those around you. You're hurting yourself. But we kept
we had to break rehab to be here.
Mm-hmm. Podcast rehab, which is a new thing that they've made since everyone started a podcast in 2017. Yeah, no, I look, man, it's been what? We started this in September 2017. Wow. We have finally hit episode 100. I know, it's pretty gross. You think 100 episodes doesn't sound crazy, but when you think about it in terms of this show, it's at least 100 hours of content. It's at least 100 weeks that we've uploaded. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
It's too much.
It's too much, most would say, including half of the team, I would imagine. But no, I don't know. It's crazy. But you know what I also realized, though, is that it was...
With all the hours of pre and post work, we could actually be good at something.
We could be good. So that's something we always say. It's kind of like that's more of our tagline at this point than anything. Is just whenever we're faced with this, it's realizing how much time we wasted. Like, I'm sure you could be a famous audio technician by this point.
Be a drummer.
I could know how to play the drums. I would be good at the guitar. Yeah. I'd look way better from the gym. Like, Lizzy would have watched many more movies.
Because I don't do anything else.
I'm just kidding. And Josh would...
probably be dead.
Josh would probably, yeah.
I'd be in the streets of Brazil for the show.
Oh, dude.
Wait, how would you get to Brazil? How would turn would your life have to take for you to be in Brazil?
It would have happened. See, if I didn't come on the show the first day, I would have been like, not going anywhere. Time to leave.
Wow.
I would have caught a plane that day. That's
a great segue.
You know, that's a great segue. Because we're going to roll a clip right now, take a trip down memory lane.
I don't know if this is actually a clip or
not.
We're going to roll a clip.
Okay,
it is.
It's just audio.
Here we go. Roll the clip.
I mean, I got a tiebreaker if you want to hear it anyway.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Right.
First one to answer the first one.
You want to
winner
take off? This is for all the marbles.
We can do winner take off.
Right.
Oh, let's do it.
You gotta wait for me to finish the question before you say it.
Okay.
Alright, actually, no, screw that. Just say it. As soon as you get it, just say it.
If you say it wrong, you're eliminated.
Right. What movie starring Guy Pearce starts with the last scene of the movie and ends with the first scene?
The Fault in Our Stars.
That's it. He wins.
Really?
No, it's not.
I was going to say, I have no idea.
Really? None of you seen this? It's like one of my favorite movies. Huh?
Is it Memento?
Oh, dude, he wins!
Oh my gosh,
Pumping Guy wins!
Pumping Guy won!
You know what you win? A signed picture of Bruce Willis by me. Congratulations.
So that's our first was doing.
Can we show the cameras that? I'm just kidding.
There aren't any cameras. We're all. What?
All right, here we go. Roll the clip. I mean, I got a tiebreaker if you want to hear it anyway. Yeah, let's just do it.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Roll the clip.
All right,
Remember trivia?
Yeah. Remember when
I
the
like
trivia?
the trivia. I missed.
Well, that was important because that was the first time. That was when Zach
origin story.
he literally won the trivia game, which earned him a spot as being a host on the show. Like that was the.
And he's regretted it ever since.
And it's been the worst thing that's ever happened to him. Essentially, if you would have known that answering that question, like I feel like if you didn't answer that question right and gain all of that clout, that massive amount of clout that day, I don't know where we'd be. Like,
Do you actually
I don't
think that? Would you have been less inclined to have me stick
You
around?
you made an impression because of that, like because you were like the guy at the end of that. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay,
I think if I had known, I would have answered the question sooner because I knew it was Memento the whole time. I was like, I can't believe none of these people know this.
yeah.
So
It's a good movie.
I had just seen it too. Like,
Oh,
That's
damn.
cheating.
That's crazy.
How is that
Damn.
cheating? How the fuck is seeing the movie cheating?
No, he
Seeing
knew.
it
Wow, dude.
recently.
I saw it that summer, like that spring or something.
How do you
Wait,
cheat
you know the fucking answer.
by
It's cheating.
accident?
You were
No,
smart
I'm
and
saying
knew
it's
it.
fresh
Wow,
in his mind.
That sucks. I cheated in advance for this question. I didn't know it was gonna happen.
Hadn't seen it that long before either, honestly. And I'm a big fan of thrillers, so you know.
I'm a big fan of Thriller, the song.
I'm
Why
a big
did
fan
we?
of cheap thrills.
Why did we stop doing trivia?
'Cause everyone made fun of me for it.
Oh,
so I
that's
just
true.
wanted to-
That's true.
I wasn't good at it. I think if I was better at it, then it'd be
You would
more
have
competitive.
advocated for it.
Well, no, I think it would just be more competitive and more interesting.
You're right.
I just don't know anything. So.
I just have no knowledge.
Did you guys actually like doing trivia?
I
did.
love
I
trivia.
think it's fun.
Trivial
Some of
Pursuit
the guests
is my
liked
jam.
it. It was an interesting
Yeah.
thing to do with certain guests
Yeah.
and like throw a weird dynamic into things. You're blocking
For
the
my
camera.
trivia, sorry, I'm sorry. For
sorry.
my trivia, I was really nervous and I didn't answer any of the questions correctly.
For the one you were on.
Yeah.
The one I crafted for you?
The
Yeah,
one that
I was
Pat
scared.
specifically made
Yeah.
questions for.
I was scared.
That's funny.
Weren't they?
What were you scared of?
There were
no
Burton,
risks.
There were Tim Burton questions. I was just nervous in general. I didn't think I was going to be nervous on the podcast, but then I was, and I was like,
That was a weird thing. I was also nervous in the beginning.
yeah.
That's real.
And now I know it doesn't matter. I still
Yeah.
get kind of nervous when I haven't been on the board in like 3 months, and then we go back, and then I'm like, I have to press 4 buttons at the same time, and I'm scared.
Is that mic on?
Can I roll it back and just say that, like, before we started the show, you were the one scooting in and going, "No, I want this," and now you guys are flipped. You're yelling at her for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High five.
Hell yeah, dude.
High five.
When did Chandler become such a diva?
Do you think we should switch?
We already switched.
Yeah.
This
because
is
of
a
that problem.
switched.
Monka.
When did I become?
Yeah, when did you become a diva?
Well, someone has to play the role. You know what I mean?
Chandler's always been a diva.
That's true.
Someone has to fill that niche.
There's a niche of a diva. That button ends this podcast. That ends this episode. God damn it.
That's gonna peak.
Are we ready for the next clip?
All right, so next
We'll do the
clip.
intro this one because I don't know what it is either.
I don't know what this is.
You just skip
In buildings all the time.
Oh, I'm just trying to kill you.
Oh, what the heck? You've never invited me.
What? I just don't like you that much. No,
I know
kidding.
you're
I
not
love you.
okay.
I'm hugging you for everyone.
Wait,
that
Dan,
can't
what
see.
we want to do is we want to go, like, so one of our ideas, really cool idea, is to do the things. Should we just do this
really
after
cool.
the segment?
Don't say that. out
Oh,
loud.
okay.
Just
All right.
hurry.
Hurry. Okay, well.
Really fast.
Okay,
Sweeten.
we want to do the things we bring our guests on to do.
Okay.
So we thought about going into the woods and living for a night, and
That's
none of
called
us did.
camping. Like, yeah, people do camping
Yes,
other than
but
me.
we wouldn't bring
And they
anything
survive,
else.
too.
I
They
was just
survive.
gonna, I was just gonna like go up behind his house and sleep like underneath a tree for a night and pretend that
Without
I was
him
homeless.
knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
without
big
telling
deal.
Dan.
Yeah, you'd also have to yell about your war stories. That really brings it in, too. Because that's exactly what I do when I go
Okay,
traveling.
so will you take us out and do almost like a vlog? We want to like do what you do.
Are you asking to go on a camping trip with me?
No.
That's Brookback Mountain, my friend, and I am not interested in you that
I just want to do that.
Are you
with
going to call me?
That's you and me.
Yeah.
Wait.
You going to call me
People
after?
sleep in the woods on purpose?
I just think it's fun. Like at one point, we actually thought we were gonna have enough time to be doing it. Because you were still actually going to college and taking classes at the time.
What are you
I was
calling me out
taking.
for this?
Well, some of us.
What?
Two people here have their degree.
Everyone at that time was in college.
Everyone at that time was in college. We were all taking classes. We just started this, and we actually thought we were gonna have enough time.
I think we could have done it.
We probably
definitely could have
do
done
anything else.
Yeah, if we didn't do anything else.
Just no one likes to do my ideas immediately.
Yeah, it
6
takes
months later.
No, try 2 years.
I was on board with that. I would have done it. It's just that the things that we would have had to do would have been hard. And
We did it with Mason, kind of.
No, we didn't.
Had nothing to do with him.
No, it was an art project that he asked me
What
to
else
do.
did we do recently, though? I feel like the starting Lab 212, like when we finally started Lab 212 later, we ended up inadvertently doing that, where we were like doing these things and talking to these people. So we became living it, you know?
Kinda, yeah.
Later. We became living it.
Cut the stream.
Cut the stream.
Press that button.
That's how we say goodbyes. Cut the stream.
Which is, I think that's interesting, is that we started out like wanting to, we didn't do anything and we wanted to do a bunch of stuff, and then we ended up doing everything, and now I feel like we ended up doing a lot of the things that at the time, like when we filmed this video, seemed like, oh, that would be so cool if we got to do that, you know, and then we did. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because it was like from rags to riches, except not riches. Rich in experience.
We used to always recommend people watch that episode because it was really good and funny, and I think I thought over time that it probably wasn't as good anymore because we've had so many good guests on, but that was really funny.
The
whole
fun.
episode probably holds up.
It was pretty funny. I watched it or listened to it a few months ago when we were putting everything on streaming, when it went up on Spotify, and it was like, we were entertained, I think, still. I listened to it in the car with you, which was pretty cringe.
Dan's a cool guy.
Dan's a very cool guy.
Still
talk to him to this day. Speaking of which, you know?
Yeah, that's I remember this very vividly.
This is a very important thing.
It's great when they leave a whole bunch of plot holes and you have to fill everything in yourself. The writer doesn't even have to do anything.
Choose your own adventure.
Anyways.
No wonder nobody knows about this.
For my segment, I wanted to talk about a
Just look at everyone's faces.
Imaginary Ambition, and I think it's really unique. He has a series going on his channel called the How To Project. And it's essentially him going through and trying to replicate the sound of
look at Zach.
musical artists, like XXXTentacion or Porter Robinson, things like that. And it's really interesting.
Is this one of the
Allegedly.
First, educational second, but there's a lot you can still pull from it. You know,
So we'll explain this in a second.
Progressions and keys used.
Look at Storm. Storm is just disassociating. He's staring straight ahead right now, and with wide eyes. I really want it to go over to him.
Come on, Josh. Come on, old Josh.
Come on, old Josh. It's like Solid Snake.
Yeah,
it's like old and
Josh, can you beam yourself back into that instance of you and turn the camera towards Dan?
Please pan over.
Because he turns them into full-length tracks, and I use some of it in my videos.
I had to be the one to pick up the slack at this point.
The stuff that you've
So
done. He's
hard.
like, I like it, and he's like, keep it up.
You really did. You
And
stepped
keep
up.
it up
Zach's
is usually-
laughing
that usually
so-
translates into it's not that great, but maybe it'll be later if you keep doing it. You know,
Look at Storm.
I really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, this is like
It's really cool, and I definitely recommend checking it out.
Look at Storm.
that is so funny.
So the
Is
reason
that where the dumpster came up?
That's
Yeah,
where the
that
dumpster
was-
came up.
That's so funny.
So the reason, and we've never said this before, but the reason why we had that reaction and why the dumpster came up is because this was the first day that we were filming video while recording the show, and we were live. The first day we were live broadcasting to the radio station. Very exciting, very big.
We had it got delayed a week or two too, so it just got, there was
a lot of hype, and we were excited to have Dan on because we knew he was going to be an exciting person to talk to, and we knew how diverse his experiences were and everything. Like, it was really hype. We also had Caddy sitting in, there were people coming to watch, that was weird. And then also Chris Andrews, the head of the radio station, was sitting in to help monitor the board because Pat was still learning how to do that at the time. And Dan Chua, in the heat of a movie debate,
Arrival debate,
about the movie Arrival, he dropped the fuck word live on air, which at the time it still doesn't fly. No. And the FCC recently changed the rules, but not that much. And yeah, so everyone was very shook, I think is a good way to put it. And the vibe was surely off at that point.
We also reacted the worst way possible, because afterwards Chris is like, how you recover from that is anyone says anything. And we all just sat there in silence.
Well, we all
shocked at each other.
Going, the entire room.
I went like, just kind of like a silent cringe.
Luckily, Chris steered us into a break. And and then he's like, you got to recover somehow. Someone's got to say
you can't just leave dead air immediately following that. Also on top of that,
I wish we still had the raw footage, because I remember like the moment that sticks out in my mind
we should have kept that.
So it's somewhere probably.
I don't have it, but it could very well still be on the public drive at school.
I would imagine it's on the drive somewhere
at school.
The part I remember from that is literally like Dan was like beep, and then Storm and Dan were both like and just held it for a couple seconds, and I'm filming like, oh no, we're all fired.
Everyone, I think, at the time, because we were all very green, I think everyone at the time was like, oh, we're done. That was the
time, you were like, this is gold.
Yeah. No, it was funny. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad I got it. But like,
I was like, that sucks. But if this is going to be how we're going out, at least we're going to finish the show. Like, let's at least try to...
Like, if the Hindenburg is going to crash.
Yeah, exactly. Let's try to turn this around a little bit. And it actually, by the end of the show, the vibe had recovered.
Yeah.
But it did take a quick minute. But I just love, dude, Zach's face in that was just priceless.
Very fun.
Absolutely priceless.
He was, like, working through the stages of grief.
Yeah. Storm thought that was it. Like, I remember talking to him after that. He was like, dude, I was like... It's funny because we got in more trouble for completely different reasons that had nothing to do... Like, we did less bad things than that and got in more trouble for them at a later time. So, it's pretty lit.
That's really great.
I also like this one.
I hope so, because you picked the first half of these. So.
Yeah. I like this one a lot, too. I think this is an important landmark. Great,
man.
Great angle.
Make this Mr. Coffee Guy and Miss Coffee Guy.
Is this a Tarantino film?
By the power of...
I don't have a ring.
Hey, don't interrupt me. I'm trying to marry you.
Here you go.
By the power vested in me by the Universal Life Church in the state of Pennsylvania, I am pleased to pronounce you...
Sorry.
Let's do it together.
Wife
and husband.
Sealed
together today, both in law and love. You may kiss the bride.
Miss Coffee Guy, you may kiss the bride. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the privilege of presenting you for the first time Mr. and Mrs. Coffee.
All right.
Wait.
This is cough.
Mr. and Mrs. Mr. Coffee Guy and Miss Coffee Guy. Coffee Guys.
So you want to go to my math class for our honeymoon?
I'd love to.
Okay, great.
That's so funny.
Very wholesome. Now,
So good.
you got married on the show,
Yeah.
and that happened. And when I was going through these episodes to look for clips, I was like, I hadn't watched that in so long, and it seems pretty legit. Mm-hmm. It seems so legit that I feel like the state should recognize it legally.
Well,
I mean, especially getting a tandem, co-opt. And what is the fuck? What a mediation of the ordained loopholed by the Mungo.
That's true.
And Storm Hutchinson.
Storm
the intern.
the
vlogger.
SoundCloud rapper
His
name?
dude.
What was it? God damn it.
What was the song we always used? Deep In?
Deep in. Going deep in.
I played that intro music for way too many weeks.
It was a long time.
I don't think it was probably any more than we played like Saturday at this point.
That's true.
That's true.
It's
Speaking
also
of food
my fault.
truck.
It's a banger though.
It is a banger.
Shout out to
Ryan Flynn's also
Ryan Flynn. Speaking of which, we're gonna be I haven't checked the questions in a little bit, but we'll be answering some questions, whatever people wrote. Probably nothing that anybody doesn't already know or isn't, an insult.
There's some.
There's some new ones. Okay. Yeah. There's definitely some jokes in there. We'll get to those. But one of the... Yeah, they are. One of the questions that we got, it's more of a statement from Ryan, was when is a food truck going to be back? He said, he demanded, it was a demand to have food truck back on the show soon. And we would actually very much like that, especially in lieu of a new project you guys put out, which we also liked, that EP. So, yeah, I think we'd love to have him back on because we love the new stuff. Exactly. And that's food truck in a nutshell. Honestly.
Speaking of that, you remember when the one episode Chris Andrews did the
I think it was the Caddy episode.
Yeah, the weird soundboard bits.
That's a real thing.
Way too loud.
Yep.
Yeah, very loud.
Yeah,
so funny.
That was awesome. I know Josh is doing it here.
And it wasn't
today.
in a separate track either.
No, that was over it.
It was over the audio.
And here we are, full circle. Because now Josh is trying.
You don't have to do this one. You can if you
have
want.
to. I mean,
it's essentially we kind of bait Luke Bowers, the vlogger, which some of you may know, into maybe getting into a somewhat more committed relationship than he was wanting to get into with us. We invite him out immediately to Pennsylvania to come visit at some point, which we did to quite a few guests. I think at one point we insinuated to Imaginary Ambition that we would all come to California and sleep on his couch. Yeah. So I didn't know logistically how that would work out, but he was pretty down for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you only had the one couch, but he said we could have it. I'm pretty sure.
That offer still stands.
Hey, Imaginary Ambition.
What about this one?
See you soon.
What's this next one? Instant validation. I'm pretty sure that one.
This one's cringe. Well, this one's for me.
Is it cringe?
It was a very important moment for me.
Let's make fun of Chandler.
Yeah, let's make fun of me. Yeah, sure, make fun of me.
I mean, I was really young when I wrote, and I stopped writing probably when I was like 13. So it was all me just ripping things off.
Mostly Naruto fan fiction.
Mostly Naruto.
I think,
hey man, you got to start writing something.
Exactly.
Somewhere.
No, I don't think writing fan fiction is that bad of a thing to do if you want to hone in your writing skills.
I did it when I was younger.
Yeah.
I did it for Halo.
Did you?
Yeah, that's really nerdy.
Whatever.
Andres, is Halo or Naruto fan fiction more nerdy?
That's got to be Naruto.
Opinion? It's Naruto for sure. It's more nerdy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did Halo and I didn't feel like a nerd.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying Halo fan fiction?
No, I was on the verge of writing Halo fan fiction, but I did do a couple of what's it called? Like mini machinimas when I was 13?
Okay, yeah.
You did Halo,
Your face, oh my god.
And then look at that goatee.
Yeah, look at that goatee that I was rocking.
At some point with
yeah, of course. Massive inspiration.
I definitely I later realized the goatee had to go, but we weren't there yet.
No, it was
cringe.
pleading by me. The goatee had to go.
No, you know what it actually was? It was when I started working at Disney. I had to shave. I had to be clean shaven for that.
Far?
It got that far. I realized I had to be clean shaven all the time, and when I started being clean shaven, I was like, I just look better without that, and I look younger. I have a big thing with my mortality and not wanting to get older, so it's kind of like David Dobrik does, where he clearly stays very clean shaven, probably for similar reasons, so he looks young as he wants, you know.
I feel like that's two steps.
Because when you get the beard, when you get the facial hair, it puts on some years. You know what I mean? But goatee aside, it was an important moment for me because Imaginary Ambition was like a huge inspiration to me, and I loved his videos. And I was so hype on this episode when he agreed to come on, and then also hearing him validate something that was excessively nerdy like that was just like the most amazing. I don't even know how to quantify that.
Sexual Halo fiction?
No. You write
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
No, you just write other scenarios within the lore.
Becomes an actual human being or something.
There's a lot of that.
Writing fan fiction,
but I did not write it.
I figured there was a lot of that.
But yeah, it was just lit. It was a lit moment.
Getting those people to call in, especially that early on,
was crazy.
Didn't make any sense. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was so weird because it was right in a area where, well, you know what it was too, though? It was like Storm had like right off the bat demonstrated this ability to just go and look at YouTubers that were in a sweet spot where it was like reasonable they would probably actually contact us back, you know, because they weren't so huge and they weren't that small either. And he would just ask. And like that was like such a groundbreaking thing for me because I was coming at things so much from like, it's ridiculous if they'd even respond to your message or something. So then to assume
that they would look down from their goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's at the time that's what I thought. Like it's unreasonable because they're just like bored. Also, they don't. You know what I mean? Like no one else is. The thing is that we learned is no one else is asking these people to do these things. Yeah. No one cares to ask, or and they're either all scared. Yeah, they think the same thing and they're scared. And so if you just ask...
That's why you should ask Nakey Jakey, bro.
Yeah, I want to. I do want to.
And it's also, I don't think people looked at Imaginary Ambition as someone having a podcast for some reason. Him and like William Osmond, I just feel like...
But they were like the first awesome. People I'd want to have on because they're so like ambiguous and like not very forthcoming about so many things. And it's like, those are the YouTubers I always found the most fascinating are like the ones that have like a persona or their style doesn't necessitate you see the whole picture of them. You know what I mean? So there's so much left to the imagination. And then I'm like, I would love to interview them.
I'm sure you made that joke 2 years ago when we had them on.
Yeah. No, I think... Did I?
I'm sure.
It was I did make a pun. I do remember that now that you say that. Yeah, no, you're like, no to the soundboard on that one. But yeah, it was crazy. And I think we're getting back to that, though, because we do have some stuff coming in through the pipeline that I'm very excited about that I don't want to jinx. That I don't want to jinx, but we're on par to do more cool stuff like that.
Kind of jinxed it.
You'll see soon.
Oh, yeah,
very, very big, very cool.
You don't care?
No. I do care. It's just like, I'm very aloof because I've never mind.
All right.
Because like now that he said it,
you're a goon.
I fucked it.
Can you cycle it back a bit?
Yeah.
Thanks.
This was potentially the worst thing to happen in football.
No, it was awesome. I love it so much.
The first quote's from 10:20, and it goes to.
That's shortly after they won.
That's like right after they won to 12:24 a.m. So all this stuff happens in the span of 2 hours.
Well, because they came, like the police came out and like cleared people out very quickly when they started to get crazy.
There was one point during the Super Bowl, I don't remember when it was, they did like side-by-side shots of Boston and Philly, and there were already like police lights going off in Philly. It's great.
All right, so here's the first one. All right, I got people coming up the ramps on 676 eastbound. I don't have a clue how they're getting up. Should I go up to get these people off?
I love that because that's like the most Philly thing to do after winning the Super Bowl is fucking destroying your own city.
I said even a Philly cop was like, I don't know how they did that.
Yeah.
Just start climbing.
Philly cops are basically, they're like, they could probably like debunk magicians with how much shit they've had to deal with. They probably know exactly like every single trick. And somehow they were still astounded by their own citizens.
They're like the
on that night.
Of GTA cops, but they're actually in GTA.
Yeah.
People like friggin' like rocket launchers and jumping off of blimps, and they're like, "No, I know how to do this."
That's what Philly is. That's what Philly's like.
I love Philly so much. I don't go there that often, but I love it. I love the concept of Philly.
I love
it even more because it makes other people mad. Which makes me.
Why does it make other people mad?
There's people who got really like you. You got really mad. The Phillies won. Not the Phillies. Jesus Christ.
The Phillies. Yeah,
that happened on the show too.
Yeah, for sure.
Sucks. Yeah, well, no, because the Eagles suck. Because Eagles fans suck.
Yeah, which is awesome.
From a certain point of view.
I don't give a fuck about football, but I love the fact that everyone hates the Eagles fans, so they're my favorite team.
It's because they're the worst. Don't say that, but it's because they're just so poorly behaved.
Yeah,
they're very BM at every chance they get, no matter what.
So who are they playing that year? The Vikings.
Was it the Patriots?
Yeah, I think it was the Patriots. Yeah,
and then fucking what would have happened if New England won?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Well, people would have been like,
boring.
There's a certain
Tom Brady.
I understand what you're saying. There's a certain
like
joy in sitting back and just watching something burn, just watching the slow descent into chaos.
And I'm like, this is out of joy.
Yeah, exactly. There's something really nice about it.
None of this is rooted in hatred, but they're fucking up their
I feel like the same thing would have happened if they lost. It would just been with malice instead of joy.
I think they would have had more to drink, and it wouldn't have been as many people out.
As many. That's it important. Yeah, it probably same results, but less people. Yeah.
Oh, they were flipping ambulances and shit though. Yeah, stuff that's like fucking chaotic evil.
Public service stuff. Yeah, it is. It's just like.
What'd they do? They like stormed city. They tried to climb over the fences of City Hall and they were chanting "Free Meek Mill" and shit.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking awesome, dude. It was fucking
amazing.
It was so great. It was amazing.
It worked. Yes, it did.
Yeah, and it worked, and they freed him.
The next one's kind of like I'm as happy. I was very happy with this pick. It was my
the dead speak. Is that a reference to the freaking
to the fucking intro crawl, the latest Star Wars movie?
Sucks.
No, this is actually. So this is the William Osmond episode, which I don't know why he came on, but even more meme is that you can hear his cameraman talk very briefly in this video, and there's a shtick where you never hear his cameraman talk or really see him.
Oh, that's crazy.
You can hear him in the back.
You can hear cameraman John. That's so funny.
You can hear cameraman John very briefly. That's him.
What a response to.
So listen closely. That's cameraman John.
That's cameraman John.
Sounds like his dad.
It does sound like his dad.
It sounds like a dad from or a parent from the Peanuts cartoons. What's even better about this episode is this is like very shortly before his house burned down from the forest fires.
That's not
funny. And then Storm posted on that video. Like, I don't know why it was definitely not meant to be this shitty.
Classic
it was supposed to
flub.
Yeah, it was like supposed to be. It was very. I know Storm meant it from the heart and everything.
Yes, 100%.
But he posted it sounded overly PR, where he's like, everyone here with a poorly edited podcast sends their apologies, William. And it was something like that, and it was fucking. People started like witch hunting him and like coming to our channel.
Like, wow, you're self promoting on his thing. He's like, no, like, what are you talking about?
Somebody
He's
called
like,
us autistic.
yeah. Dude, there was just so much hate. I was like, oh my god. He felt so bad about it too. Like he was so discouraged.
He meant it.
He did, 100%.
So
he just actually. So at face value meant that the quickest way to convey that was the poorly edited podcast who you just filmed with sends their regards. He knows, like, he'll recognize that and know that. And
do you think that people thought that we did it? Like, we send our regards.
Oh god, maybe that's why they were mad. It seemed like a veiled threat.
No, I've never been, because this is 7 videos in. Yeah, this is our most viewed video still, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god.
Well, because I've never our channel trailer for like 3.5 years.
That's true. But it was like we had him on, it got like a couple hundred views.
It did well.
And then his video came out about his house burning down and it shot up and I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, that's not how I would have preferred
I do not feel good about that.
The video to do well, but it started trending a little bit. It got picked up because of him trending that way, and our video came out like relatively around
that time.
And even
the wildfires in general, because it didn't just affect him. I mean, it was a trending topic on YouTube for a while.
Yeah.
Other people were affected as well.
And then, you know what's really cool though? It was like that he was on our show, then that happened. He was on our show, then that happened to him, and then a few months later, by the time he gets back on his feet, and then all of a sudden he just is like blowing up.
Yeah.
And he's collabing with iDubbbz, which and going on the H3 podcast, and like there's a bunch of beats he hit, and now he's just like everybody knows him. Yep. Everybody knows him.
He's the only person I don't fucking name drop people we've had on before a lot, but I mentioned that we had him on and someone didn't believe me. They thought I was lying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is weird because we've had arguably more famous people than him on.
But we had him on before he was like...
Yeah. He was at 300,000, so it was still like not a... Yeah. It wasn't like small.
He wasn't a small channel, but compared to now, like...
What's he into, like 1.6 or something crazy?
Check.
Let's check.
I feel like it's over 1 million, right?
And now he's pulling like... Yeah, he's pulling a million views
Yeah, 1.7. That's
oh
crazy.
Oh my god, dude! Like that's in like you know what I mean? Like that's insane.
We put him on the map.
Yeah, to think we did that.
For sure.
And then I remember we live streamed when we did our 24-hour live stream. We also put
for his benefit.
Yeah, put some of the proceeds to. Yeah, after everyone said that we were shilling or something in his comments, we were like simultaneously planning a charity live stream to get him money to get a new house or whatever and replace his stuff.
She's still having trouble with because everywhere he moves in, people are like, I saw your videos and I really don't want you to live in the house anymore because the stuff you could do could be destructive to the property.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, they're pretty fucking lame.
You ever rebuild the laser?
No, that sucks. He uses a different thing now.
Yeah, he's like somebody.
He uses a router.
Somebody tweeted at him asking him what he thought about that exact laser and like, oh, is it good? Like, what did you think about it? Like, didn't know that happened. Yeah. And William Osmond just replied, he's like, who's gonna tell him? He said something to that effect. He's like, that sucks.
It was funny. I know.
And the guy was like, and because then once he realized, he's like, oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry.
He was like so apologetic.
That's so BM of me.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was really cringe.
Because I'm sure every one of his like loyal fans, I'm sure saw the video where he thought like the title of the video was like my house burned down, and everyone for half a second was like, was it his fault?
Yeah.
Did he do it?
Yeah.
That was a fucking tearjerker video though.
It was. Oh, that sucked.
Yeah, it was absolutely.
He was just walking around his like. Oh fuck.
Yeah, and it was one of those things too where like, because I think you and I talked about this at one point where like, it's so evident that like just like from the kind of person that he is that he was trying so hard to not have it be that kind of video.
Yeah.
But it just turned. I mean, like who wouldn't?
Still trying to find levity. And
who wouldn't start
while you're walking around the fucking like
the ruins of all your stuff.
Yeah.
Like it may just be stuff, but it's like what you built.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot. I mean, if this burned down, I'd be a mess.
Yeah, I feel that.
Stick around to the end for that. So then, shortly after that, Storm said he would no longer be doing the podcast with us because he had
better things to do.
Better things to do.
He had some stuff going on.
Can you turn that off? Because I'm gonna stare at that.
Yeah, that's bad.
Because like I have a thing.
You know what's great is that I can see it in the reflection of my glasses, and I like zoned for a second.
Yeah.
Please.
It's hypnotizing.
So Storm said he couldn't be on anymore, unfortunately. And then like 3 episodes later, he came back on, and this is his real last episode. And this is what he brought to the table.
Storm's got a special segment prepared. Throwback.
We're gonna talk about the NBA and some sports talk.
All right.
Talk into the mic, please.
Can I chew into the mic?
So the NBA playoffs are going on right now, and I have discovered a conspiracy. That means that LeBron wins everything. So here's the conspiracy. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
The NBA knows it makes more money if LeBron James continues on in the playoffs because he's the big cool shot. And is Coffee Guy sleeping?
Yep.
Okay. So the way they make it work is they put magnets in the basketball hoop and magnets in the ball. And so when it's like a critical shot, what they'll do is they'll like nudge the ball one way or the other. Now, I don't believe in this at all, but it's just a theory about how like, because basketball is just like tiny margins. If you just move the ball a little bit one way or the other, you can make or miss a shot.
That's sports.
Yeah, so... And then he became a basketball coach.
That's true.
He did become a basketball coach after that. That's really BM. And he wears a 3-piece suit to the games.
Which is I adore.
Does he get
awesome.
like? I just picture him as the type of coach that gets so angry at his team. He's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Not Storm. No way.
You think he's ever been like, you know what? I gotta save this game. He rips the 3-piece suit off. He's wearing a jersey. He's like, I'm going in.
Yeah, basketball shorts. He's got the J's. The reason that he wasn't on a show after this is because the Illuminati killed him right after he said this.
Exposed the magnets and the rims in basketball nets.
But the NBA is rigged and Earth is flat.
That's true. We did talk about that. We've talked about that a couple
Hot
times.
take.
Yeah.
Dude, please fucking stop with the soundboard.
Josh, better men than you have tried to incorporate a soundboard into our podcast.
I wish you had.
I'm gonna make it work.
The voice mod.
No.
Yes.
Oh my god, that'd be awful.
Fat Rips.
Yeah, this one's called Fat Rips.
I have a theory. What this is on?
Yeah,
click it.
What you want to call it?
Is it the Josh's vape machine?
Dude, I tried to fucking find the clip where we take a hit of it. I couldn't do it. I don't
He
know
was
which
looking for
podcast
like
it
an
was.
hour.
That's crazy.
He just kept saying, "Where's the vape volcano?" and scrolling through the videos.
Oh, it looks so good. Can you pause it for a second? I'm sorry. Can we just take a moment to recognize the amazing transition from like the era of not really caring what it looks like visually to like actually taking time to like set up shots and make our podcast.
This is
look
like
good.
20 episodes later.
Yeah.
This is incredible. It's episode number 41, and it just looks stunning. It just looks so good. I don't know. I just want to take a moment to.
Yeah, you did a great job.
No, it was the team.
It was the setting. It was the necessity of we had to figure out how to make this framing work because of the new demands of we had never had 3 guests on at a time, and with also 3 hosts. So it was like there was a challenge. We had to figure it out because they were like, we want the whole band, and it's like, okay, let's do it. We want the whole band too, and we were in this new setting because we had gotten forcibly ejected out of WXLV because it was under renovations, and so we were under all those guns, and so I think that's kind of what ended up and like it was great on your part. I remember for this, was this the episode where you were sitting behind on the stool and you were behind the camera and you were blocked in by lights because that's how it had to be how it had to be set up.
I don't know if it was this one, but I remember that. Is that I remember that. Yeah, that's
that was really funny.
All I know is, where's that shirt?
I still have it.
I like that shirt, but you wore it once. I retired it.
I like this shirt too. I wanted to use it sparingly. It doesn't match with a lot of stuff because of all the colors. But it's a summer shirt for sure. I really only bust it out in the summer because I'm not killing time like that. It's not a vibe. I've worn it to parties more than anything. It's a party shirt, dude.
Your grandparents see you walk down, and they're like, "Oh fuck,
yeah,
it's going down
it's
tonight."
Going down, dude. Now I think I've worn it to like 2 parties.
Hold it in so I can do one, and we'll do it together.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So the last person's gonna die.
Wait, breathe towards the cameras.
Bye-bye. Hasta la vista. That was the Poorly Edited Podcast. Subscribe to us and follow us on all kinds of stuff. The EP's out. Go listen to Food Truck on Bandcamp and every...
Just
Bandcamp.
Foodtruck.bandcamp.com.
Look at those cute men. Alright.
Look at the soy voice.
Actually, they just announced another show that they're doing with some other bands to raise money for the wildfires. Well, not against the wildfires. They're not for wildfires.
To fund the wildfires.
We're dropping matches over Australia.
Every ticket bought is a gallon of gasoline dumped on the wildfire.
Let's keep it going.
Art.
Now that's punk rock.
This is so. A lot of these have been funny, and
a lot of these have been funny, and that ends now.
This one's depressing. No, this one is honestly one of our favorites. I think.
Oh, Colt Barron. Yeah.
Just because he was a really cool guy.
He is
and
really
we don't usually. I feel like we got really into art this episode and like high concept shit. As you can see from my eyes, that's where we're at.
Some real glowy brain stuff.
Can you try to duplicate your facial expression now? Yeah, there you go. There it is.
No, you have to look more tired.
Yeah.
All right.
But thinking about what visual culture is, I think the statistic is that 90% of the information that we get is through our eyes. 90. So 90% of all the information that we get through our eyesight. Art doesn't speak a language. Art doesn't know time. It does, depending on how long ago it was made. Yeah. But if you look back at cultures, if you want to even go so far as like the cave paintings, we can
That's
look.
where my mind went right away.
Yeah. If you look back at those, we can see what they valued. And, obviously we very well could be wrong, but if we had cave writing, who's to say if we would ever figure it out?
So that was some glowy brain shit.
Yeah.
I hated that sitting configuration because I never knew where to look.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to stay like this the entire time at our guest and make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can see me fidgeting randomly.
That's a real thing. That was one of the visual things that we took into consideration later because like it's just hard to be like if Zach's the guest be like Oh yeah.
It just looks so good though.
That was when we had even less space in here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was L desk.
Yeah.
That was Mega desk.
LTT desk.
I'm sitting in the ruins of it right now.
That's so crazy.
Used to be here.
Yeah.
The best part about this one is we were like, we can do 2 podcasts in one day.
Oh yeah.
And so we were gonna have Chris Carcetti from Airspace on after this one. And this shit was like really in depth. And then we're all fucking dead for the Carcetti podcast, unfortunately. Which I still feel bad about. I brought it up the other day. I brought it up the other day, and he said
he still
didn't
likes
notice.
us, so it's alright.
Yeah.
I remember looking back on that and kind of being a third party during that one and feeling pretty burnt out. But you guys handled it well. I don't think it was very obvious that we were spent. And I think it went well.
Hey man, you know what they say? Don't knock it till you try it.
I like the way that the Penn Johnson one looks better than this one. Like it's from the other side. Like the camera's over here.
That was the one we shot it that way, and it was against the other desk, which is also gone. Which is really funny.
This used to be way less room in here.
Yeah.
It was not designed with like negative and positive space in mind. And as soon as I got permission to do whatever I want up here, I was like, all right, we're making a few changes for sure.
No foot space.
No foot space.
It was cool though having him on.
It was.
It was.
I think we wanted to talk about stuff like that for a while, but not a lot of the guests we brought on were like, I guess they didn't want to. I don't know. They were scared of sounding pretentious or something. Yeah, that too.
Well, he was an art major, and a lot of art majors have to have that ability to think very introspectively about that kind of stuff in order to progress their work and to better understand and interpret other works, and like that's a huge thing. So like, yeah, I feel like that was very embedded in him, and he's obviously something he's very passionate about. So to be able to talk about, like, it was kind of almost the antithesis, not the antithesis, it was kind of like the, it was like it very well demonstrated very well what the show was about, really, like that episode and the things that he said and the attitudes he had towards art and all of its various forms, and being able to find art in anything almost is something that like we had all been thinking and was our driving force behind the kinds of guests we were getting on up until that point. And so to hear him say that and to recognize that as a fact was very nice. And it was nice to be able to, because to have a guest who echoes that gives us a pass to be able to openly talk about that and explore our mindset in an organic way that isn't like just preaching it, you know, kind of just like throwing it at the audience and whatever. So it was a very organic way to demonstrate our feelings towards art and all that stuff, you know. So I think it was a very like liberating episode for us to be like, yeah, you know what? Yes. You know what I mean? It was just really cool like that.
No holds barred.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of person too. That's a really good point. I never thought of it in that way. He's the kind of person too that inspire that in others to like begin to think more introspectively and being honest and more self-aware with yourself and even to better put yourself in the shoes of others. I remember walking away from the episode like not having like redefined the way that I think, but like kind of bolstering the idea that it is okay to think that way and that it's actually maybe even right to think that way. So that's a good point. I never thought of it in those terms, but really from that episode on, we were a bit more
we weren't second guessing anymore. It wasn't like, oh, is this, you know, art? Is that does that fit the theme of the show? It's like, no, it does. They are, and this is why. And we could very easily explain that, you know, if
more determined.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, it was sometimes you get into a conversation that feels like bigger than you are almost.
Yeah.
Or it's like more important than you are.
Yeah.
Which is cool, and that I got a couple times that's happened, and I think that was one of them.
For sure.
And this is the most important clip we've ever had in the podcast.
Very important clip.
Not even arguably.
So okay, this is awesome. So when I was like 17 and working at that movie theater, Rob Lowe, the famous Rob Lowe, is from, his grandparents were from Sydney, Ohio, where I grew up. And I'm working at the theater, and he was going to come, and the movie Class had just come out, so it was like, I think after Outsiders. Remember that movie Class, right?
That's a good movie.
Where his like mom is hot, Jacqueline Passay, and like his friend sleeps with her or something like that, right? So he was coming, and the mayor was going to give him a key to the city. and they were screening the movie Class, and I was like, well, when movie stars come, they always have like an escort or something. They have like the girls walk them down, and I think it was Phil. Someone was like, well, Marcia, would you want to do that? And I'm like, sure, no problem.
I hadn't even thought about it.
Well, sure, I'd be happy to. And then I got my friend Susan, and she's like, okay. And so he had 2 escorts. So anyway, that night, Rob and I had a nice little. His brother Chad was like, my brother likes you. And I was like, oh, really? And so we went and we were like, started making out and stuff. I could have lost my virginity to him, but I didn't. I did not. I chose not to. Is this getting too graphic for your podcast?
No, it's just.
Isn't this a great
hilarious.
story?
Like,
I know.
I don't know if I would have done the same thing.
See? Right? Then hindsight, I wish I had.
That conversation right there was worth the stress before getting to New York City.
You almost killed someone that day.
I almost killed someone that day.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
you wanna tell
turning.
that story? That's great.
I was turning the car, and somebody was
turning
crossing
the bus
street.
you were driving?
Turning the bus, and there was a person walking, and they weren't looking, and I wasn't look. I couldn't see because I have a blind spot in my car, and she was just like, and I was like, oh shit, and then she just kept walking, and I was like,
luckily it's New York, or else she might have been mad.
Yeah.
But it's just a typical day or whatever.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've seen that before.
Really?
Right now.
Oh, really?
I don't think I knew that.
Really?
That's so funny.
We make jokes about it.
Are you
Yeah.
serious? So I had no idea that she made out with Rob Lowe, and this is the Rob Lowe. Right?
We make jokes about it all the time.
That's so funny.
Did you
I had
just
no
play
idea.
along?
No, I just didn't know what you guys were talking about. I probably just laughed like, what?
Yeah, that was a huge meme.
That's another
She
weird
was
thing.
one of, sorry.
Go ahead.
She was one of the most interesting to me, I think, and the coolest.
She was really cool.
It's because I love Gilmore Girls, and she was almost the mom on Gilmore
That was
Girls.
heartbreaking. She
Yeah.
told that story.
And
Yeah.
they liked her more, but they liked Alexis Bledel, who plays the daughter, and Lauren Grimm looked like her,
The
so they
match
picked
was
yeah.
more, yeah.
And I was like, damn,
That's
that
crazy.
really sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside your control, you don't get cast. in
Yeah.
a
Sorry, you look a
make or
certain
break
way.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think she said something like, "I can dye my hair." I think she says that in this interview.
Yeah.
Which is fucking.
I don't. She doesn't. Okay, so like now that I think about like the actress that played the mother versus the daughter, it wouldn't have been too much of a stretch for if she dyed her hair. I don't think.
No.
Like I would have believed it.
I think, I don't know, maybe it was like the color correction, but their eyes were like piercing blue. Both of their eyes.
okay,
Yeah. And hers are blue, but they're not that blue.
Cringe.
You know?
That's very
pretty
sucks.
cringe.
That's very Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also randomly, as we've gone, I like the random connections we get. How we're like degrees away from people. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a
This
fun
one we learned we were like lots of degrees away, or not a lot of degrees away from a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're 2 from Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
2 from our. It was exciting when we interviewed her. It made us 2. Wait, her to.
What's his name?
I don't know if you consider it being. If the last degree is the thing, or if it's another
not sure
degree
how it
to
works,
the thing, but whatever. Like we're 2 or 3 degrees away from Saving Private Ryan, which is one of my favorite films of all time. So that was very cool because she does films with one of the actors that was
What's
in that
his name? I
movie.
forget.
You really put me on the spot. That's pretty cringe.
It's
'cause I don't remember it.
Ed Burns.
Edward Burns.
Tom Hanks.
Her and
Oh, it's over
there.
Her and Daniel Roebuck, who's our boy. Which I don't know why I didn't put a clip of his on here, but we're also he's really helping us in the degrees department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we like
we're 2 from Demi Lovato?
Are we like 2 or 3 from
How?
Kevin Bacon too?
Isn't she in Sunny with the
Are we
Chinese?
from
Isn't
Kevin
she in that
Bacon?
guy?
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like we did the math on that at one point. We're like 2 or 3.
We're definitely under 6.
We're
definitely
we're
under
3 from Saving Private Ryan, we're 4 from Leonardo DiCaprio.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
From Leo. Good old Leo.
Yeah, because Catch Me If You Can. Tom Hanks, Leonardo
That's true.
DiCaprio.
I'm sure we're less than 4, honestly. He's
From
done all
Leonardo
this stuff.
DiCaprio?
Yeah. Daniel Roebuck?
Doubt.
Daniel Roebuck? I don't think they've been in anything.
Doubt.
I don't
Hit
know
the
what
doubt
the
button on that.
We're back to. Let me have this gentleman on, who one of my favorite podcasts. Who's who runs an art gallery around here. It's just minutes away. I
love this guy.
Josh, yeah.
Way that it's kind of constructed right now, it's not really giving a lot of hope or opportunity for kids. It's creativity. No, it's not at all. I mean, almost all schools have cut it completely across the board, both art and music. Yep. So I mean, where do the dreamers fit in? I couldn't stand high school. It wasn't for me. Because all I wanted to do was make movies and hang out with my friends who were breakdancers and watch them do graffiti. That was my life. And I was discouraged to do that because it wasn't this structure of, you need to go to college and do this and that. I'm like, that's not what's going to make me happy, regardless of how much I make.
He's yeah.
Damn.
It's like, if you listen to him talk for 10 minutes, it would, change your life.
Yeah.
Every 15 seconds of that video is a clip that we can then, which we need to do more of, and I want to do more of, is actually taking these clips. I feel like it's a genuine injustice that more people don't see some of these things, because there's so many people who, I almost feel bad that I'm like, who am I that I've been privileged enough to have sat in and engaged in conversations and been able to interview so many interesting and experienced people that have said things like this to me, to us on camera for our stuff, and came and talked to us and gave us the time of day and imparted so many great wisdoms and so much insight that I think about every day, when I'm going to do my stuff. You know what I mean? And it's I want that for everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves to hear other people say that these things are okay and that it's okay to be this way, because they probably don't have that. You know what I mean? So many people grow up without that, or they don't have that system around them. You know what I mean? And that's crazy.
That support system, even.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people's families and I'm not trying to get personal or whatever, but I would say the majority of people that prescribe to what I would consider an alternative lifestyle, just as a generic term, don't always have the most supportive family systems when it comes to respecting that or even understanding it. And those are two different things. But all I'd say, I remember sitting in on this podcast and just being riveted. This was the first podcast that this was the first podcast that I felt like I was in dereliction of my duties, and just because he was so enthralling. He the gratification that came from him echoing the stuff that we had already been thinking, and him being no, you guys are on the right track, and talking about how you can live and being an artist and live a fulfilled life and have a career, whether that's something that makes you a ton of money in the movie industry or film industry, or it's just making enough to get by, how any of those paths are fulfilling as long as you're pursuing the art that you love.
Yeah.
I just immediately was distracted from what I was doing and just became an audience listening to the podcast. And I think it was the first time that happened for me.
It's such a validating podcast for anyone who's trying to do anything artistic with their lives. Because he's he's not doing anything unattainable. He's doing something not very attainable, but it's he's he put hard work in, and it seems within your grasp, as opposed to I don't know, being a movie star or whatever, just moving out to LA or whatever. He's local. He found a niche in his community to fill. He's facilitating other people doing art, and he's very fine with the fact that he's not loaded off of it. Yeah, he's I make enough to be happy, and
that's
I'm mostly happy. I'm mostly happy because I'm doing what I love.
I had something really cool happen at my new job. There's a girl, she's a fashion designer, and she was talking, she was like, oh, I wanted to have a stand at Arts Fest. And I was like, oh, Arts Fest. And she was like, yeah, I just didn't know how, and I didn't know who to talk to. And I was like, I know who to talk to.
Wow, that's awesome. That's rad. Dude.
There's been a lot of moments like that where this is also the first, and then still to this day, I think the only podcast. I actually got choked up at the end of this show. Yeah. I don't know how visible it was in the video, but
you can tell.
It's
probably easier if you know more context. But.
Just because, just because of those reasons that we talked about.
You look pretty choked up there.
The very end is.
It's the very end when I'm outroing. Yeah. I didn't really mean to cut to it, but the audio's muted.
No. I mean, for the tears.
Definitely wouldn't be sitting in this seat right now And I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there. So, encourage those artists to do things like that, because for some people, it's all they have, So, for sure. Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Thank you.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And
It's pretty
cringe. No, but it was like, I don't know. Those are the kind of episodes that you have where it's like, that takes you so far. Just having those moments to, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
it was crazy.
Also, to end cap that one, it costs nothing to encourage an artist.
Yes.
And I try to do that as much as possible if I like someone's work. I'll be
Same.
like out of the blue, you can just message their Instagram.
Bro,
And be like, dude, I love what you're doing. Keep it
I
up.
try to encourage people who don't even want it. Like, I
Yeah.
try to encourage people. Like, I know, like, certain friends of ours even. Like, I was just talking to Droney the other day.
Yeah.
And, I think it was yesterday, actually. And, he wasn't even asking for it. But I was like, dude, just fucking love you, man. Like, do it. You know what I mean? And, any chance I get to, tell an artist, even if I don't even know them, I just messaged this random musician that I listen to because he makes a lot of, lo-fi beats and stuff. And I messaged him. I was like, hey, can I use your songs in some videos of mine? And also, at the same time, I was like, I love your stuff so much. Please keep making it. It matters to me. You know what I mean? I always make sure to not just, be passive about it. You know what I mean? Because so many people just, I don't know. I feel like they are very passive consumers of those things, and it matters a lot to hear that. You know what I mean? To be reminded that people care and that it matters. You know what I mean?
It's easy to be taken for granted when you're in a world that is designed and cruxed on consumerism.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to be a consumer and just being like, well, here's my daily episode of this show that's made by these
You're scrolling through
people.
Instagram. It's like, oh, it took them 24 hours to draw this.
Yeah.
I'll leave a heart, and then they're on to the next thing.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
So easy.
But when you finally become self-aware, whether it's becoming a creator yourself or hearing a message like that, for me it was when I heard the Kevin Smith talk, and he said a very similar thing where he was like, it doesn't cost anything.
No, he said that quote from Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what? I'm sorry. I knew he said
I didn't know it was
similar.
from him, but I definitely wasn't from me.
Oh no, I mean, regardless.
Kevin Smith.
It costs nothing to encourage a creator. Literally nothing. It just takes time, and you can create time when you are positive and talk to people and encourage other artists. And so, when you become aware of that, it is amazing how far just saying to somebody, keep doing what you're doing because it matters to me. And on the flip side of that just is aces. It goes so far for somebody. Even just when it's like I was going to use a really bad analogy. It's like a gallon of gas.
Oh God. That you put on the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, exactly.
I think of even and a lot of people, this has happened to me with this stuff. It's happened with Lab 212. It's happened with other videos I've done. But even that old series I was originally doing on YouTube right around when we were starting the podcast, and you messaged me after watching one of those videos, and you were like, "Oh, I love you so much."
Yeah.
Even that was oh, now I think I have 4 more episodes in me, because I was already at a point where I was like, I don't think anyone cares or whatever, and now I'm getting busy. Should I even keep making more? But then you said that shit, and I was like, okay, I'll keep going. You know what I mean? And it's that could be the difference for certain people. If you get them at the right time, what it could do. You know what I mean?
You might be if you're even hesitant that you don't know the person, so you think it might be weird. That probably means leagues more than someone they know. Because
for sure,
people sometimes if they're they say they like what you're doing, you're still skeptical sometimes. But if some rando messages you and is I love what you're doing, it's how could this be disingenuous because they took the time to do it?
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
Just be conscious that you're consuming art a lot, and if you really like something, just throw out hey dude, I like what you're doing, keep it up.
Great moves, Ethan. Proud of you.
And then here's some more boys.
So basically, you're supposed to be playing but I play I play like a big old gremlin, and I'm hunched over, and I'm I'm like, here we go, let's play some music. When you're supposed to be like, yeah.
You're supposed to be chilled out, but you're very like.
Yeah, I'm like, let's go, boys.
It's like when I'm playing games or something and I'm losing. Like back here, I'm losing, so I'm like, oh.
It's when you start getting serious. That's what you gotta
Playing
do.
Plume music physically puts him in pain.
Yeah.
That is why he has
Yeah,
just
this is like my third spine, honestly.
It's my third spine. What amazing boys.
The dynamic
They're
between
just
them.
memers.
Yeah, they're
They're
huge
incredible.
memers. No, that was. I love when people almost say curse words and then correct them, and they don't even have to. Like that wasn't even. They didn't have to not curse. I don't know why. It's so
it was
much
funnier.
It was funnier. It's so much more noticeable.
Well, we had like a form letter we sent out, and people would come on and be like, "Hey, don't curse," because we were at the station a lot.
That's true.
Except here, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So people would catch themselves and it's really stupid
Yeah.
shit.
Except for Craig.
Yeah. So instead of saying I play like a fucking idiot, he said I play like a gremlin.
A big old gremlin.
A big old gremlin.
Big old gremlin.
Which was infinitely more funny than saying fucking idiot anyway. So, yeah, no, that was a huge fever dream of an episode for sure, and it somehow got worse from there. I thought that episode would stand a while as being the memeiest, most derailed episode that we did, but we recently put out one that put that one in a coffin for sure.
At that very spot too.
Yeah, at that very spot.
This one is one of our favorite people I've met through the podcast, and I'm very. This is like one of the reasons I'm very glad we started doing this, just for meeting this person and him being in our lives still.
For me, I'm like, oh man, this thing's awesome. So then, come to 2011, my girlfriend said, "Well, you should try to call the White House again." I said, "Nah, that's like a once in a lifetime."
That's kind of played out.
Yeah, why do it? Why do it again? So I called, and the same thing. They said, "What's your availability for like December of 2011?" I'm like,
oh,
okay.
you know what? I'm actually busy that day. Sorry, White House.
So there we go. We played for Obama, and it was wild. It was just like incredible.
That is insane.
Yeah. So and we got a chance to meet him. The cool thing is, the Marine Guard takes you down to meet the president. They go, Mr. President, Eric Mintel Quartet. And I had said to President Obama too. I said, Mr. President Eric Mintel, we have a mutual friend in Dave Brubeck. And he said, Dave Brubeck was the very first jazz concert I ever went to see with my father when I was a kid.
Whoa.
So it was cool. It was like so many really cool connections there.
Amazing.
And it was cool. And it was wild just to be able to, be there.
Yeah, Eric's like the easiest, the nicest person that I've had to work with in this industry.
And I love the way that he works. He's like one and done. He's like, take it, okay, maybe again,
Yeah.
And then
he has it's not like because he has a very clear picture of what he
does.
wants. He knows exactly what he's going for, and he knows how to get it very quickly.
He also is aware of what he's making.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He also knows how to just roll with it too, which I think I love. Anytime he posts those videos on his Instagram where he's like, "So I'm in the editing room right now," and he said it a lot of times to us like personally, but I never heard him say it publicly. And I've also heard this analogy before when it came to editing. But he said it in one of these videos where he was putting together one of the paranormal videos. He's like, I love the editing process because it's like I'm composing a piece of music. Like it's all about timing. It's all about beats. It's all about flow. And like you feel out the piece. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, that's sick because that's exactly what it's like. And I love that he has such a love for the medium, and it's not just like a means to an end for him. He respects it. You know what I mean?
He's able to relate it to something that he loves.
Exactly.
So much, and that's awesome. That's
exactly.
And he just wants. Go ahead.
You started talking before I did.
Okay, well, he just wants.
There was a very courteous interruption.
He just really wants to have fun on set too, and when he's working with more serious people that he has on as a guest or something, he's just kind of like, okay.
He's not a serious dude.
He's not mean. Yeah, he's not a serious dude.
He's not a serious dude.
But he's like, let's just have fun. Like, it's not that big of a deal, you know?
And he's fucking, I think he's always working too, somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how the fuck he has the energy for that.
He's insane.
He's posting fucking shit of him at the gym just like beating on a punching bag.
Yeah, he's a boxer too.
And then we go somewhere and meet him that night to film.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got a recital tomorrow or whatever. It's like, I don't know. He doesn't stop, which is insane. And he's such a nice guy.
And he does a lot of traveling too.
Yeah.
I love it. I respect it so much. I respect the hustle so much. Like, he's just doing it.
Sorry.
He's just very passionate about everything he does. You know what I mean? And I just respect that so much. And I hope that I can stay that hype my entire life.
Yeah. It
like
makes me want to drive 2 hours to a shoot that's
Yeah.
going to take an hour, and then I'll drive home.
Exactly, because you're just like, dude. And you know he's doing it too. Like, anytime we go to one of those shoots, you know he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So you're just like, all right, dude. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, he's always there, like, matching that energy.
He's taking advantage of us, trying to make sure.
No.
He's never doing it, like, so it's easy for him or anything. It's always just, like...
It's the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was easier for us. Like, the Jim Thorpe stuff was closer for us.
And it's always like from a place of just having fun, which I think is an interesting point. Because I never thought of him as like that kind of person. But that really is kind of like his like core. Because even when he messages, he's so funny. He'll message us individually and as a group.
I love it.
And like, I have a conversation with him on Instagram currently where it's him basically like, bro, when are you gonna come out and be a part of this? And I'm like, bro, I want to so badly. And he was like, dude, April whatever, or like whatever we're doing that thing. And then he messaged the group, and I was like, do I respond for myself, the group? And it's just really funny that like it's not at all him trying to like. How do you put it? It's like people. There are people out there that just.
He's not like going above or around.
Yeah,
anybody.
exactly.
Yeah,
it's just he's so excited. He's just so excited
Yeah.
about it that he just wants to talk to everybody and tell everybody about it, which is like really infectious. And so our conversation is just like two weightlifters yelling at each other.
Yeah,
really
it's so funny.
Yeah,
that's
I was like intimidated at first.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus Christ, he's coming on. He's coming out to get fucking fast.
Yeah. He's just.
No, I knew it was gonna be
hype.
sweet when he wore the Nosferatu shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that the first time?
Yeah.
That was
I
an
think so.
intimidating show because it was like going to New Jersey, Princeton University on TV to be recorded at like some random studio, and like we hadn't met him before prior to that.
Probably
so it was
the
just
first
crazy.
time I was nervous for the show in a long time.
Yeah.
And then
Agreed.
since.
Yeah. Not since for me.
Sure.
But because I think we had Jordan Rudess on after that. That was pretty like.
I loved that one.
Was that
That was-
after that? Or
I think
before?
so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was after, I think.
Sure.
It was around the same time.
I'm never really
I'm
that
not sure.
nervous about the guest. I'm more nervous about the stakes surrounding that episode that's happening, where it's like this has to be the show itself has to be very good. I'm not like intimidated by the person or anything, or like the idea of the interaction, but especially in a case like that where it was just like we're traveling out to go. We have no idea how it's going to be. We don't know how this is going to go. We're not as in control as we usually are. We're like rolling with the punches. Like
and the Jordan Rudess one was very low light. There were only 3 of us, and we were just like
it was not optimal. You know, like there were not a lot of optimal variables going into that one, but made it work. You know, and I don't know.
You guys really came in clutch for that one. I remember watching it and being like, nice. Because like I knew it was like, I knew you guys were like short-manned and also cameraed as well. Because there was only like one camera that you guys brought?
There's 2 cameras,
There's
but
2 cameras.
One was tripoded.
Yeah. And that alone is difficult, but you guys pulled through. It was good. It was a good podcast for sure.
Just clutched that.
It was funny. You would have been proud because I had like the headphones on. I was I was recording and I was also watching the other camera. And I was like,
rad. Once you do that once, you're like, I can do anything.
You
know what I mean? Like it's really good.
Yeah, but then the band started playing. And he's like, I gotta go to sound check, and I was like, this is cool.
I have no control.
All right, this is the last clip I have prepared.
Sick. I don't actually know what this one is.
Now you know what it is.
Go. I mean, look,
of course,
travel is the best money you can spend in your life. That's
why.
It's a great question. No, look,
that look was awesome.
No, honestly, because there's so much to that answer. It's like you can buy stuff, and stuff is great. I got lots of stuff. I like stuff, but the stuff it only takes up so much of your existence and your consciousness. When you go do things, when you do interesting, when you have adventures, when you go places, when you see the rest of the planet, that never leaves. That never leaves your brain. Even if it's a crappy experience, even if it's a horrible traveling experience, you will always have a story. You will always have some kind of reminiscence, and you will always have it to compare to the time when it's not crappy. When you go, well, at least it's not like it was in France that time, or whatever that story may be. I can't recommend traveling, and even traveling in the States. There's so much to see in the U.S. that you just pop in your car, a 2, 3, 4, 6 hour drive, and you are in a different country. You really are in a different country.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think there's actually a good place to stop that.
No, there isn't. That whole video is...
It was an hour after that.
Yeah, exactly. That was 9 minutes in, and he's dropping that. Yeah, he comes out swinging. Yeah, dude.
What a great show.
Yeah, it was great. And he's very well spoken. I mean, he's an MC.
He was 600 podcasts in of his own.
He was 600 deep in the Geologic podcast.
I don't want to embarrass him or anything, but he said he was nervous to come on our show.
Which was he says
we
that
were
in the next episode. I'm
what?
pretty sure.
Yeah, he says that in the next episode.
We somehow were on the next 2 episodes of his podcast.
Which was
got
really
brought up
cool
with
to
random.
just hear him his side of things going in, during, and before. Not a perspective we're used to being able to get. It was just very cool.
Yeah, hearing
really sweet things too.
Yeah, hearing someone who was like, we were kind of intimidated in some respects to have on, because he was someone who. I think for a long time we had younger people on that were like our age because we were more comfortable with that. We knew how to vibe with that a lot easier. But when we started having people like adults on, I kind of felt like a bit of self-consciousness, I guess. You know what I mean? A little bit. I was going to say that, like a little bit. You know, the frauds that we are, because I'm like...
Unsubstantiated.
Yeah, I'm like, here's an adult with like, he has shit to do. Like, he has like stuff going on. He has like real shit. Like, you know what I mean?
He's got rent.
Yeah, he's got rent. He's got bills to pay, bro. He's doing it. He's lived a full life already, And yeah. And like, he's going to take the time out of his day.
His knees are awful, lower back going.
Just old. Just a very old man.
George is so young. No, George is so young.
He's great.
He's so a spring chicken. That's not what I mean.
And he's a sweet
but
man, too.
yeah, he is. But like, taking the time out of their day to come out and sit down and talk to us. And now I'm gonna interview him as if like, who am I? You know what I mean? So all that, and then to hear him be like, I'm self-conscious to come talk to people younger than me because I want to seem cool, but I don't want to seem like I'm trying too hard. And like hearing him say all that stuff, I was like, that's crazy. And it also helped to frame like, how can we make that experience better for guests in the future? How can we lighten that vibe better in the future? And so to hear his perspective of coming on the show, and like, I think it was cathartic, especially to hear that our guests feel similarly to us going into doing something like that, where they feel stakes and expectations and they're self-conscious and like kind of second guessing some aspects of things. And that's okay. You know what I mean?
I love this might be my favorite podcast, just purely for the entire experience surrounding it. Because he got there early, and I was done setting up. So I was like, we were fucking around his guitar, which I fucking didn't know how to do anything. And I was like, but I played like Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I guess that blew his mind that people still gave a shit about Nirvana. Yeah. So much to the point where the next podcast, that was like a huge point of topic for him, was that he went to a podcast being
a significant impact on George Ross.
You made him think very introspectively about that instance.
Yeah, which is crazy to me, because I mean, still, even like we don't get a ton of feedback for each podcast, so it's cool when someone like it actually seems like we're doing something, making an impact. Yeah, which was really cool that he felt that so much that he centered his next podcast around.
Yeah, there's a whole topic segment about that. That's the kind of stuff that pays off to me way more than having 45 likes on a video or something. Is like someone being actually impacted by a whether it's just the guest or as a viewer or whatever, like to actually have that like that much thought put into what went on, and to have that much consideration, and to actually open up a dialogue, and to maybe expand someone's ideas of something. I think it's like, that's sick. That's rad. You know what I mean? Like that's like the highest payoff to me.
And then also the next week or something, we went to record Martin Tower, not Jordan. Martin Tower exploding for stock footage and just for fun. Imploding. I'm sorry.
It was an accidental explosion. A lot of people died.
We were the only ones who knew. We got tipped off. But
Nightcrawler.
That's it. And me and Josh were sitting on this parking garage in Bethlehem, waiting for it to happen. We got there super early. And then randomly at like 6 a.m. we see George Schraub come out of his apartment, which we didn't know he lived right there, and then walk over to a trash can and start taking stuff out of the trash can. And we were just sitting there. I'm like, there's no way that's George Schraub. But it was the fucking weirdest juxtaposition of the dude we just had in the podcast, and he's dressed like very put together. Yeah.
Within like 2 weeks, we saw him again.
We see him walk out of his apartment, and we're like, is that George Schraub? And then he walks over to a trash can and starts digging through it, and we're like, there's no way that's George Schraub.
And it was funny later because like we didn't get any confirmation on that. We like messaged everybody. We're like, oh, it's really funny. Haha, it's probably him, probably not him. And I don't know what series of events led to us.
I think Amresse texted him.
It was Amresse texting him. It was him.
Yeah.
He apparently had like lost his wallet or something. That's
I think he thought he threw out his parking pass.
That's what it was.
The night before, because he just threw a bunch of shit out that was in his car.
Yeah. Oh,
we just kept running into him. It was so funny.
So bizarre.
Yeah. And if I could bring it back, if I could kind of geolocate a bit here.
Geolocate, you said?
If I could just bring it to.
If I can echolocate.
If I can echolocate.
That's how your echolocation.
This is the new bell. The new
Bruh.
No, it's not.
Oh, the bell.
No, stop it. I don't want this to be the new bell.
Oh, the bell.
Stop it.
So if I could just bring this to like a thing, what you guys were saying before. If I could bring this to a flashpoint. If I could bring this to a DC United Flashpoint.
If I could bring this to Operation Flashpoint Elite.
I just think it's really cool that we got that feedback from him, and it's also encouraging because it's one thing to be like, how do I like put this? Okay, so people are like so very tied to like where they are in time and their maturity level and like their age, and it's so impossible to like see beyond that and wonder and know for a fact like what is it going to be like when I'm like way older, like what's it going to be like when I'm like 30, 40, 50, 60? Probably. But like to see someone like George Schraub feel those same things that we're currently feeling, but also be like the wiser for it. It's super encouraging for someone like me who sometimes gets kind of trapped by that, you know, like where I am and who I am currently. It was cool to hear him talk about those things very open and honestly, because it just reminded me that you're always going to be human, so you're always dealing with stuff like that, but you just keep fighting and you keep pushing forward. And he's at 600 episodes of a podcast and he still feels those feelings.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think that like he's at that level, but he still was like nervous to come on our show. And it was just like a really encouraging moment for me because I realized I was like, okay, there's really nothing to keep me or any of us from doing this more.
He was also a huge proponent in that video of just doing it. Like you make it.
Yeah.
And you go. Yeah. And you go and you make it a habit and you keep making things and you keep going for it. And it was just like, damn. And obviously, you know, the proof is in the pudding, if you will.
We've had enough people since we started that have given us the same message at like varying levels of success on their own part that we should just keep doing what we're doing.
So you just can't ignore it.
Yeah.
It's like if everyone's saying the same thing, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
It's like happen independently of enough of each other. That like it's,
yeah.
Like it's just even anyone listening who needs to hear that. Take it. Ours is more important because ours is validated by a lot more people. But you should just keep doing what you're doing, and just try and I don't know, do what makes you happy and what you enjoy.
Regardless,
don't let the man hold you down.
Yeah.
I want to answer these questions.
Let's answer these questions. We got questions.
I forgot about that.
Why didn't
most of them are memes.
Go through all the. Is this just where it stops?
All the what?
That's where we left Starbucks to go eat a sub at Wegmans and then came here.
Okay.
To give you a little look behind the curtain.
Do you have any other stuff on your mind? Any other episodes that jump out at you that mean a lot to you?
I don't know, probably.
To revisit, probably. There's been so much, and there's been so much that we've gotten to do as a result of what started as this show and us getting together to do this show that materialized into so many other things, like Lab 212 as a group, like us being able to do the projects that we worked on commercially and with so many interesting people and collaborate with so many interesting people, get to meet so many interesting people, go to really cool stuff and be able to sit in and so many awesome moments that we've gotten to experience. And it's just been it's been really rad, and like I've been able in the last 2 years been able to check off so many of my boxes of like things I always wanted to do and wanted to get the chance to do that were like 2 years ago, 3 years ago when I was graduating high school. It was like, oh dude, if I could even get some of these.
Guess what?
What?
That was 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's cringe.
Is that real?
Almost 5, probably.
Yeah, 26 years old.
Oh no, already?
6 years for me.
Oh, that's cringe, dude.
It's been 1 year for me.
Guys, I just got my GED.
But like
starting junior year now. Very nervous.
Whatever. Fuck you guys. All right, so you guys ask some questions. Some of you also made statements, and some of you made jokes. So we're gonna look at those responses that we got.
We're gonna grade your jokes. We're gonna overjudge them.
Yeah, a lot of them are just emojis. All right, so Red Tan Official says hi and a peace sign. Hi.
What's up?
Hello. Samuel. How do you pronounce his last name?
I don't know, but that's cool that he said something.
Sam,
drummer to the Stars, who also helps out at Studio 11.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's that guy that we met, right?
Sam. Yeah. Sam, from whom we know from the Bethlehem area public library. Bapple, if you will. He said, if you were a food, what food would you be?
Cashew.
Wait, is he
That's
the drummer?
A very quick.
He's
the drummer guy? Okay.
He was in
I had a class
our
with
music
him.
video.
Oh, you had a class
Yeah.
with him?
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
That's not a food.
What's the food? What's your food?
Oh, I don't know. I have to think.
I'm-
If I were a food, what
celery
would I
stick.
be? Oh, that makes sense.
That's offensive. I hate celery.
A chicken wing. I love chicken wings.
A stromboli, because I'd be nice and hot, and cozy, and tucked in.
I said mine.
Yes. Josh said cashew. You have a couple years now.
Or like a calzone or something, one of the two.
A pocketed meat dish, Italian meat dish.
Ew, don't call him a pocketed meat dish.
He's a hot
Dude,
pocket.
please don't call him a pocketed
He's a
meat
hot
dish.
pocket.
I stand by what I said.
Disgusting.
Hey, what's your answer?
My answer is I'd probably be a shrimp because that's what I got insulted with in high school, and also I'm very salty all the time.
Nice.
And you like shrimp.
And I also like shrimp. It's very good.
Next.
That peaked for sure. Bella Fullera. I'm sorry if I mispronounced anyone's names. Bella Fullera says hi, Lab 212, and
What's
a
up?
bunch of hearts. Hello
Love you too, Bella,
to
wherever you are.
Hearts emojis to you as well. Ryan Flintstagram, we went over this earlier, said bring Food Track back on. He's referring to back on the
Ryan,
show.
You said
square
food
up.
track.
Ryan,
Food truck.
square up. Food truck. I'm sorry, who's food truck?
Food trap is our new
Food
movie.
traps. Food truck. If you were a food, what food would you truck? Leave a comment down below. No, but we'll have you back on the show. Hit us up, please.
You guys are pretty cool, and we like you a lot.
No LA Dead sent a lightning bolt, a skull, and a rose. I don't know if that's a threat, but we'll interpret it as such.
Well, at least he's putting flowers on the graves. Right?
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
So that's respectable.
So they're going to strike us with lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has the oddball logo from Halo as his profile picture. Rachel Lehigh Stacy says hi! Exclamation point.
What's up?
Hi.
Hello! Exclamation point to you as well.
Hello, Rachel, right?
Rachel Lehigh Stacy.
Hi, Rachel Lehigh Stacy, the person with 3 first names.
I don't know if the Lehighs.
What world is Lehigh a first name?
I've been places.
Schnickman says.
Oh, who's that?
Say it.
Say it.
Say it, Jim. Say it.
Schnickman says, "How to wipe my anus tutorial when?"
We've been asked about this a lot. Production just keeps getting clogged up though, so we're working on it. We'll get it out.
I'm working on plunging Premiere currently. Just really putting as much suction on the post process as we can.
Next question.
Sam has another question. He asked, favorite movie soundtrack?
Ooh.
Favorite? Who asked
Lord of
that?
the Rings.
I respect it. Which one?
Oh,
that's.
I mean, I don't think they're.
There are slight differences.
I gotta go third one.
Okay, Return of the King. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I respect it.
Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna have to go with that as well.
Oh,
honestly.
You guys.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's good.
Very good.
Ooh.
Just the song in the third one. I haven't watched it in a while.
Let's say
so
how
I
it
don't
go. How does it go?
I forget. But I really like it. I haven't watched it in a while.
Nice.
The one that the little boy sings in the beginning of the third one, right?
Wait, also,
And the calypso, the piano song.
I
That.
thought of another one too. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is an awesome soundtrack.
Very good.
With Sex Poem, all their songs are written by Beck. Not a joke. Just throwing that out. Why is this?
So is that it's an original soundtrack then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, is that your favorite original soundtrack? Like, are you putting that up against?
I think it's kind of apples and oranges, honestly.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah.
If you're comparing Lord of the Rings, Return of the King soundtrack to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, they're kind of complete. That music's utilized in very different ways. I think.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
So I have two answers, both of which will inspire a large amount of contention.
Can we guess them? Wait,
is one of them Speed Racer?
No. It's actually, believe it or not, one of them is not Speed Racer. However,
the other one is.
The other one, I'm just kidding. One of them is the new 2019 film Joker.
Okay,
that's a good one.
One of the reasons why I like it so much is not only because it featured a composer who was female, but also the way they implemented the music throughout the movie making process was also super revolutionary. Not that no one's done it before, but rather for a movie at that scale and for how well it did.
Right.
Having the music be like an integral part of literally every step of the process is pretty cool. I find that awesome. I think it's cool that Joaquin Phoenix was acting literally to the soundtrack as he was going through his scenes. And also the music is just gorgeous. My choice that is probably going to inspire more contention is Sky High.
What?
And the reason why
Kurt Russell's Sky High.
The reason why is because there's a cover of what's it called? I'll stop the world and melt with you.
Yeah.
R.E.M.
There's a cover of that in that movie that just gives me such warm feelings because I watched that as a kid. Like I watched that and Spy Kids when I was really young. And both those movies were like super like I loved them to death. And that cover of that song is just like it just gives me warm feelings.
Sky High was really ahead of its time.
It was way ahead of its time.
Because it honestly has the feeling of the Marvel movies.
It does
before they were around, really.
Very, very campy. Like this, like
incredibly,
just induced with camp. But it was ahead of its time.
It was like a love letter to superhero movies before superhero movies got good.
Yes,
yeah,
big agree on that.
Yeah,
for sure. I would consider watching it if you guys haven't seen it or if you haven't seen it in a while.
Have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it.
You should watch
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it's really.
I was not a
Kurt
Disney
Russell.
kid.
Danielle Panabaker.
Danielle Panabaker.
Yeah.
She's great. She's good. And that one kid who plays the main character that you don't ever see again.
Yeah.
Because they probably killed him.
Like Michael Cera Light.
Yeah.
Michael Cera Light.
Jesse Eisenberg Light.
No, Michael Cera.
No, less curl. That's it. less curl, bigger nose.
Chandler, you have an answer?
I do. It's really hard for me to decide because music in the video games and the movies and stuff that I'm a huge fan of are like so deeply. It's almost like the music. I don't really even separate them, like because the movies and the games and all these different things. Like a lot of time, they wouldn't be the same to me if the music wasn't there because it's what affects me so much in those works. You know what I mean? If you have a great movie but you don't have that beautiful or impactful soundtrack to go along with it, you lose to me, I lose a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like there's so many works that matter to me so much that I've gone and I'll just listen to the soundtrack, you know what I mean, in my spare time just to listen to music. Miyazaki films come to mind a great deal. You talk about Howl's Moving Castle.
You really you elevated the level of play in this question.
Yeah.
Bringing up Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, and it's just like that. Almost all of those movies have amazingly memorable, beautiful soundtracks that the movies would not be the same without. Even something like... Then you also have great examples like Baby Driver, which that music heightens that film, and the film is not the same without that music. It punctuates moments so purposefully and is drawn around the music and edited and everything like that around the music. That sticks out to me. Django Unchained had a very memorable soundtrack as well, in that sense of creating that epicness and adding to that atmosphere and that world, and once again really punctuating those big moments and those badass times and everything like that. But in terms of soundtracks that, like, if you want to narrow it down in terms of like what are the ones I've spun the most, I'd say in my life, it'd probably come down to like when I was a kid, the original SpongeBob movie soundtrack.
Okay. That's a sleeper hit.
Which was a sleeper hit. There's a lot of bands on that soundtrack that have songs on there or were even featured in that film.
Motorhead's on there.
Yeah, like Motorhead's in there, Ween. Like there's so many great acts that have songs on there. And
not even memeing right now.
What?
Not even
memeing. Not even memeing. Like, go look it up. It's on Spotify. I was talking about this the other day. It's on there. Listen to it. It's really good. But yeah, so that sticks out to me. I was listening to that all the time on my CD player.
For anybody who's listening, just like discredits everything.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a joke.
Don't knock it until I thought of that because I was giving you a face at Sky High and I was like, shit, I know what I'm gonna have to say. I can't do that. I can't give him a face.
I was thinking that as you were saying,
and I wiped it. I tried to make up for it where I was like, nice. I don't know if you heard that, but when you finished, I was like, nice. I tried to like be genuine.
Yes, a SpongeBob.
And then also, I mean, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show is also a soundtrack that I've spun quite a great deal to Lizzie's discontent at times.
I mean, I like it. It was just too much.
Yeah. No, it is a lot, for sure. 100%.
No, she's talking about the frequency of me playing it was too much.
It's also
the frequency was far too high.
It's because, like, their voices are purposely not the greatest. Not Tim Curry, but, like Janet's voice is annoying on purpose, and it's just like, okay, that's enough.
La La Land.
Yeah, I was going to say La La Land, but I didn't want to.
La La Land, 100%.
Enough answers.
I know. That's the thing. That's why it's such a hard
Can I say
question.
my extra answers?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Real quick.
Halloween's theme.
Yeah, that's true.
And
iconic.
And like the Nightmare on Elm Street music, because those movies would be nothing without the music. It would not be nearly as scary.
100%.
All right, what's you have anything else on there?
I don't know. That was a pretty fire question. I don't know if that's gonna get topped.
This
We
one's
have Decat Music. 2 fire emojis. Thank you very much. 2 fire emojis. Thank you. We'll raise you 3 fire emojis.
Put them up on the screen.
Do you want to take a crack at that one?
No.
Nerdosh
the movie has a.
Is this?
Emoji.
I don't really give a shit about answering any of your questions. That's what they're saying.
Is that one in English?
It's in
This one is
how we feel.
Te gusta el arte? Te invito. They're asking, do you like art? And yes, we very much like art. Yes.
Are you sure? That's what that says?
Yes.
Okay.
Josh,
Give it to
te
Josh.
gusta el arte?
That's Spanish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Josh speaks Portuguese.
Well, they're
speaks
very
a little
similar
Spanish.
languages.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, do you like your art? Yeah.
Do we like our art?
Their art?
Do we like
Whose
art?
art are we
Whose
supposed
art?
to like?
It's do you like art?
I might have to cut this bit.
Their phrasing is interesting because it is like, hey, you like the art?
Yeah.
And then it's like
The last part is like, you're invited. And I don't know what that means.
I invite you.
Yeah, I invite
literally
you.
says.
And I'm like,
it's
okay.
Invito is I invite.
Yeah.
and then Te is you. So it's Te Does I by you.
So
maybe to his art.
Well, you know what? We do love art very much on the show. It's actually a decent question to be the last question. But yeah, we love art, and thank you for inviting us. We invite you
let me see.
as well to whatever that means. So
hey, you're invited.
You're invited.
You're invited.
Thanks for inviting us. You're invited too.
Our guest.
You're our guest.
Very quickly. Does anyone have any other moments they'd like to shout out that they're grateful for happened as a result of this podcast? All right, sounds good.
That's so BS.
Thanks for.
Thank God it's 100.
Moments we want to shout out. It was so sick to interview Daniel Roebuck when he was talking about Star Wars because he was in a Star Wars game. That was like, if I could go back in time and tell 12-year-old me that was gonna happen, not that many years later from then, he would have been like, "What the? You're stupid, idiot. Get out of here. I'm gonna go to make a Call of Duty montage. Shut up." And I would have been like, "Okay, idiot.
Josh,
we'll see who's right."
It
Josh,
made,
do you have
no, go ahead.
Daniel Roebuck in that made me go, like, I heard people talking about the game, like people that I work with, and I was like, I know Darius Dritus, and they were like, that's cool. I feel like they didn't believe me. I was like, I just wanted to flex on them.
That's a really weird flex to take. Not the main character. Well, I mean,
Grease
one of the
is,
main characters,
like,
but not like the main character. Like, I know, Grease Dritus.
I do.
It's funny though because he's the easily most memed character.
I have
from
a video of
that
him hitting the whoa, so I think I'm the biggest fan.
That's true. Grease hitting the whoa. That's an important.
It's a whoa mixed with a dab, so he's like.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
That's hard to master.
It's hard to master.
Josh, do you have any moments, real quick?
What was the question?
Any moments you're grateful that there happened?
Yeah. I think the biggest one, and it's kind of bittersweet.
I'm quitting.
Is definitely,
this last episode
where I tender my resignation.
Yeah.
Having sorry, let me take that again.
What?
Having Tony Amendola on was
that was recent.
Even
Didn't come out yet.
Oh,
I mean, you can
say it.
We're not. It's not under wraps.
I'm just saying.
Banned. You're banned.
It was also live.
It
was live on a radio station. So I mean,
so even though I wasn't able to be a part of it because I was like coughing a lung out, even though I'm coughing.
I'm coughing a lung.
And
you sounded like a corpse.
You did. Sounded really bad.
You sat outside the room just staring in.
And listening, just like.
Yeah.
But even just having him on the podcast, and BT Dubs, thank you for shouting me out. I appreciate it. I'm glad that he knows that I'm a super fan, even though I wasn't able to be there.
Hey, man.
I grew up watching Stargate, and my dad was a Stargate fan, and I was like, it was one of the first franchises, I think, one of the first franchises that I like really got into. I've watched SG-1 probably like 3 or 4 times. It's like all the way through. It's like start to finish. And I'd always really looked up to the characters that were in that series, and like whenever I saw them in other art, I was always like, "Oh, that's like Jack from like SG-1 or whatever."
It's Jaffa Master Braytak.
Or it's Jaffa Master Braytak, and the fact that, and it was so funny the way that it happened too. Like I just came into to XLV to help record the podcast, and you guys were like, "Well, we have one of the guys from Fallen Order on, and his name is Tony Amendola," and I was like, that's interesting. And I saw on the list of topics to hit that he was in SG-1, and I was like, wait, this guy was in SG-1? And I looked it up, and I was like, it's Master Braytak! And like that's how I figured out who that was.
Yeah.
And like just the fact that like working with you guys and like doing what we do and like working with our art led us down a path where I got to be literally a degree away from Master Braytak, who is just like a BA on that show.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. And it was one of the highlights probably of this season for sure, if not the entire show.
I feel that.
You know what I mean?
So
like,
much. I feel that so much.
And what's great too is like, I can't even like get over how cool it was. I got to come home and tell my dad, who got me into that, and he was also a Stargate superfan, that we interviewed Master Braytak, and he just lit up. It was crazy. It was like a great moment for sure.
That's so rad. That's what dude. It's like doesn't matter anything that happens.
Yeah.
Because those things, it doesn't matter what any results are, whatever happens, I don't care, because that stuff I'm going to have forever, and I've had so many moments like that, and it's just like insane.
I have something to say. Okay, so we had somebody that you really like on the podcast. We're going to get people that you really like.
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it, please.
We've had people that you really like on the podcast.
Yeah.
Now we should get somebody that I really like and that Zach really likes.
Yeah.
That
Whoa, we
really
had
likes.
Octavian Zero on. Don't.
We had Octavian on.
I was gonna say
No.
so. Any of the times we've had anybody call in is super cool and it's super special. And I'm always grateful for that, even if I'm not that invested in them. So all of those really stand out, and then having Octavian on was a weird, surreal experience. I don't actually have anything else to say. About
Really?
It,
So that was like for you.
I don't know if it was the top, honestly,
No.
but like objectively, it probably should be. Like looking back at it, that's pretty crazy.
And you said you're in his streams a lot, and he'll talk, and like he's on a first name basis.
I have like a
with you.
5-month sub streak of just gifted subs.
That's right.
That people give me. That's
Really?
always funny, yeah.
That's
Because
right.
he calls you out? Or is it just random?
Maybe. Most of it's random.
Okay.
That's right.
That's super rad. He's a nice guy, and
Hey,
he's
look-
doing well too.
Who you want to get on?
I don't know.
All right.
I need somebody somebody who will actually come on,
Or don't. Or just random message people
Message
are honest.
Mark Zuckerberg.
We know you're listening.
Come on, Mark.
Episode 101. We give Mark the suck.
Dude, I can't wait for us to get zucked on the show.
So exciting. Who would you want to be on the show?
Anybody?
Yeah, anybody.
Ulrich.
Who? Yes. Yes, I was thinking about
Dude,
this
ask
this entire time
Ask
actually.
him.
I think it's somewhat.
Ask him. I can't because
Yes,
I've
you
already
can.
messaged him other things. No,
That's
they're not
cringe.
bad, but it's pretty cringe.
Make a new account, message him.
That's a yikers.
Yeah.
There's a street near mine that is his last name, and I just want to be like, come visit. It would have been better if it was like a couple of years ago, because now he's in Riverdale, and now he's
Yeah.
harder to get.
Oh, right.
Wait, Dylan Sprouse. Who? What?
No.
Yeah, Dylan Sprouse.
Billy from Scream.
Uh-oh.
He plays Cole Sprouse's dad
That's
in
so
Riverdale.
Yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
He's that old now.
Mhm.
That's so crazy.
He's
Cole
like in his
Sprouse is also
40s.
45, so.
Really?
He's still really
Sprouse is
hot.
old.
I was gonna say he seems like one of those people that just won't ever, you know. Yeah.
Handle it.
No, that's fine.
I think there's definitely some people that there's a decent chance we could probably get on, if we tried. And I think that's
gonna be my goal. Skeet.
nice.
The skeet.
Hey man, it's worth having those goals, man, because you don't think it's gonna happen, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is actually happening, which is crazy. And there's
It's
been a
not
lot of
even
moments
stuff
like
that you
that.
necessarily like write down goals for either. You just kind of like keep doing your stuff, and then like it just kind of happens.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like I never would have been like, I want Jaffa Master Breakdown
Right,
on the
right.
show. But it just like happened. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Organically.
Dude,
Yeah.
you should have seen me because in Riverdale they reenact a scene from Scream with him in it, and I was just like, I was freaking out. Chandler was there, and I was like,
That's so.
I thought something bad was happening.
Yeah.
Like full on seizure.
I know,
It's
because
like-
I was laying down and I just went.
Calling in.
I shot up, and I was like, oh my god. Like
I was at my
shot
computer, I
for
was like,
shot, dude. Shot for shot.
That's crazy.
I was like,
And that was in Riverdale.
yeah.
I love that they
pay a lot of homage to all
Yeah.
different stuff.
Yeah, they
I like
do.
in
they
that
did
show.
That's cool.
It's the only good thing about that show.
Hey. Cut that.
Ooh, on that hot take, I think it's probably time.
Yeah, it's probably time to
Really?
wrap it up.
Yeah.
Dude, we could go for 4 more hours.
Or I can just mute my mic.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I think
Josh, we lost everything.
Oh, no.
there's obviously more that we want to do that aren't just within the confines of this show. There's definitely more stuff that we want to do. There's more stuff that we're already working on that we want to start doing. But I think that I don't know. I don't see it even being possible to not keep doing the show, especially after everything it's given. And I don't want to speak for anyone else, but everything it's given me, you know what I mean? I don't feel like it would even be in good conscience to stop doing this, by any means. But definitely I think it can evolve, and I think that it can change. And so, I think that's kind of stuff that we're going to be maybe taking more time to do and develop and see how we can continue to push it, as opposed to, I never like doing anything that like kind of stays the same and like stagnates. So I always like to change it up and keep everything as fresh as you can with a format like this, almost, where it's like it is a limited format in some ways, because it's like a long form, like you sit down, you talk, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's not a ton that you can do. There's stuff that I have ideas for that I'd like to do. I kind of just want to start doing like crazy stuff that like I liked when we would just record episodes like wherever, and we became more like on the fly with things, and we could like execute the show in a lot of different settings and like vary all these different aspects of the show easily. You know what I mean? Having that flexibility has been really cool, and I want to continue that probably to a what?
You went like this, and you're far away from the mic, and you're talking quietly.
He just followed you.
Yeah, he just like invaded my personal space. And that's stuff I want to do more of, but probably even to a more ridiculous degree. Hopefully in the future. Yeah. There's some ideas for episodes that we want to do where it's like are pretty much just meant to be ridiculous things that nobody's hopefully done on a podcast before, but I think would be funny or interesting to see. So
it's cool to see how people have evolved too, because like when we first started this, I think that there were like different, like not roles, but like I don't want to make it sound like we're playing characters, because we're really not. It's a very open and honest podcast, but you kind of fall into like character personas on camera, but those change over time. Yeah. Like when I first started doing this, I was a little bit more quiet and timid, and I didn't really. There wasn't a whole lot that I did, for lack of a.
Well, no, you did. You filmed.
But you know what I mean, though, like in terms of like being like a character.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm finding that I don't really have any like inhibitions when it comes to doing stuff on camera, and I'll literally do friggin' anything.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's an interesting metamorphosis that happens over time, and I feel like each of us has kind of gone through that to some degree, and it's cool to see how that will also kind of lend itself to the show evolving as well, if that makes any sense. It's just interesting to see that happen,
and like new content that we do too.
Yeah, and even like the amount of confidence that we have in each of those too is changing for the better. Like
100%.
You know what I mean? Which is crazy.
And confidence in every way too, which is like in skill set, in experience, in our own just self-esteem to be doing these things. So I know when we first started, I feel like we probably all felt like at some point or another, or maybe for a while, where it was like, who actually are we to be interviewing people about stuff like this and like to be doing this like this? I don't know. It took a while to settle into a state where it's like, no, this is it. Yeah. That isn't like some ambiguous thing, some abstract concept or anything. It's like, that is this. Yeah. Like, we're doing it. This is how you do it. You don't just start at point, at step 100. You start at 0 and you get there.
Dude, step 100.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So it's like there's all that in between.
That's like that's not even half a mile.
Yeah.
100 steps is not very far.
Hey, maybe for you because your legs are long.
So
does that get factored in?
All of our legs are long.
Well, do you know what I mean though?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Here, I'm going to end the podcast on this. Ready?
Yeah.
We're 4 steps away from Skeet. You want to know how?
I don't want to end the podcast.
Marsha Dietland, Gilmore Girls.
Is this what you've been thinking of just now?
Sherry from Gilmore Girls is on Riverdale. Skeet.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys.
Jesus.
We appreciate it.
I have something in my eye.
My life would be complete.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out for 100 episodes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
For the podcast.
We're very sorry.
Signing out.
Can we get some pogs in the chat?
Oof. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Yeah, but Chandler has to say now.
Thank you for.
What am I?
I'll cut it.
Running through the streets I roam, trying to find my way back home. It's been years since I